And good morning, Dave in the AM, the Cornbread Man here on from the Cornbread Nation studios. It is Monday before Christmas, Christmas week, and be busy at the stores. Be careful out there on the highways and byways as people will be going crazy trying to get that last minute item or getting to grandma's house for whatever. So travel will be horrendous. It always is. The orange barrels will seem to have grown overnight, and they will be everywhere. One lanes, backups, you name it, it's going to be ugly on the major highways and the secondaries because everybody tries to find that special shortcut to get around to the sale. The lines will get longer at the stores, the tempers will get shorter, the road rage will increase. And yet we are still excited that it is close to Christmas, the celebration of great things, the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ as in the flesh. Emmanuel, God with us. What a blessing. Your verse today, John 17:3. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. Amen. That is John 17:3. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. We pray you know the Lord Jesus today in a personal way and are covered by the blood. Amen. Merry Christmas and happy Monday. Get up and get going. A lot of you off of work. Maybe some of you have to work. The schools are out. The kids are happy. And all is well, mostly. There's still a lot of issues in the world. That's just the way it goes. We hope that your health is good. We hope that you'll have a wonderful time with your family and that you'll get along this Christmas time. And maybe you'll be going to a Christmas play or something like that. Those are always nice, or Christmas dinners along those lines. We have a little recitation we do on our Sunday closest to Christmas. I still preach, but a couple of years ago, I asked a guy to sort of head this up in the church. He's a preacher as well. And we kind of go through the Christmas story with song and the reading of the story from Luke. And it is a blessing. Have different people that will sing various songs. We sing congregational songs as well. And everybody seems to like it. He done a fine job with that. For some reason, last year, I think we didn't do it. I don't remember why. Maybe it just slipped up on us and we forgot to even ask about it. Somebody said, hey, we didn't do that thing, and people like it. And so this year I made sure that I made the request and we did that. In fact, he still had his notes in his Bible from for that. If you're a preacher or a Christian or something, you look in your Bible. That's where you probably slip that invitation to, that note or whatever. You see it every time you turn to that portion of the Bible and open up, it'll fall out, whatever. And that's usually where we keep a lot of notes at. That's why our Bibles are always bulging with papers that look like they're sticking out, as we're bad to take those things and say, oh, I'm going to keep up with that, put it in my Bible. And I'm bound to see it because I'll turn in my Bible. And then you do, but you end up forgetting about it again, leaving it in there. And you see it again the next time you go to that part of the Bible. You go, oh, there's where that paper's at. We tend to have a lot of notes and sermon notes, scribbles, little things that you do. We have a lot of that. This is the one that says goodbye. That's the one it is. So thank you for your comment. And may you not answer for that in a hard way. That's the guy. I just deleted it. If you want to come back and do it again, we'll ban you. That's what you want to play this morning. New people stopping by who need the Lord. Amen. And we'll pray for them. I hope your coffee is good today. The coffee is excellent. It is steaming, as you see. Good morning there on Instagram. Blessings to you today. Hey, it is a national day. We always celebrate the national days that we have. There's only a couple today. It's not very, very heavy today as far as national holidays. Today is National Date Nut Bread Day. So that's kind of nice. I could deal with that. I could deal with the Date Nut Bread Day. It is also Forefathers Day, although they give a disclaimer. Then unless it falls on Sunday, then it's the following Monday. Never seen that one before. Usually It's just a national day, but it is Forefathers Day. And I don't remember celebrating that, but it is the National Forefathers Day. So this was started, or it commemorates the landing of the Pilgrim Fathers at Plymouth on December 21st, 1620. The Old Colony Club of Plymouth, Massachusetts introduced the observance in 1769. Rather old observance. One of the oldest ones, if not the oldest ones I've seen in the national observances. The town observes the holiday on December 22nd, unless, as we said, on Sunday, then on the following Monday. Very nice. Carrying on the traditions established in 1769, the Old Colony Club recognizes the forefathers with several events. The celebration begins at 6 a.m. with a march by the members of the top to the top of Coles Hill next to the statue. Next, they read a proclamation honoring the forefathers, and followed by a ritual firing of the club's cannon. Interesting. Nice. I like it. That would be a rather cold march at 6 a.m. Not as cold today as it has been, but I think that's pretty cool. I did not know that. So, but it's cool. I like the national days, and those are just two. Usually we have at least four. Today we just have that. This day in history. The movie The Graduate was released on this day in 1967. The Lincoln Tunnel opened in 1937, 30 years apart, obviously. And remember that the Berlin Gate was opened on this day in 1989. And in 1984, a famous trial, a very, very famous trial, the Bernard Goetz, when he shot the four black youths, who ordered him to give them $5. All four survived but were seriously wounded. After 9 days on the run, he will turn himself into police. A jury will rule he acted in self-defense, but one victim will win a $43 million judgment against, as they described him, the self-styled subway vigilante. But he was found innocent of that, and was found it. We have the right, and so this was a famous case. This was big in the news. They talked about this. If you were alive at that time, you remember much about it. They did. It brought in there was a lot of money spent on this trial. There was a lot of people upset about it and claiming he just went there to kill people and da da da. But they not allowed to have a gun in the city or handgun. And anyway, I remember that case very, very much, and I thought it was pretty much open and shut. And he was 37 at the time, but they surrounded him and demanded the $5. And he later stated, after wounding three of the unarmed men, he pointed his gun at 18-year-old Darrell Cabey, who was not wounded but was cowering, terrified in the car, and said, "You don't look too bad. Here's another." Goetz then shot Gaby in the back, severing his spinal cord. Three of the youths recovered, but Gaby was paralyzed and suffered permanent brain damage. He fled the scene, but turned himself in New Hampshire. 9 days later, during the subsequent interrogation, he admitted on videotape that when one of the threatening young men smirked at him, he wanted to kill them all. The racially motivated shooting caused considerable controversy in New York and around the country, especially after Goetz pleaded in charges of attempted murder. The subsequent criminal trial. Remember that very well. Very much was in the news quite a bit. And, the subsequent marches and everything else that occur. So, but yeah, that was on this day. Those things will always be in our memory banks. They will always pop up in history. Good morning, Vintage Youth, this morning. But yeah, that was on this day in history. So very interesting as we look back. I always wonder, 1,000 years from now, what news will still be taught. People will look back and they'll always grab news, and it'll be what it is. But I just wonder what news items will they look at. What will capture their attention if we're around 1,000? If the Earth is still here and things are the way it is, and we're still living here and not destroyed ourselves or whatever has happened, which I know that won't fully happen, but I just wonder what news would even stay around. Like, what would they teach in the history books about this time frame? Right now, what would survive in those? We'll just say the within from our all of our history that we have now forward. What will be taught, and in around our time, 2025, 26. Is there anything that would stand out? Would it make it in a history book? Would it be talked about? Books being written about it? I always wonder about that because a lot of things get lost to time, lost to history, and they don't stay around. Of course, I always thought it was funny how on Star Trek or Star Wars, or especially Star Trek, they would go back and talk about on Earth, circa 1984. This gentleman was responsible for, you know, healing the masses or something. So always wondered about that. What will we look back and our the great grandkids and look back and what would they be studying about? Let's look at birthdays and see if there's any that stand out today. Sometimes there is not. It looks to be kind of light today as far as people that I would cover, but Ralph Finez, 62 today. And by the way, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Hector Alonso, 88. I know him, actor. Chris Carmack's 44 today, another actor. Aiden McGraw, very young, 16 today. Ted Cruz, we know him, 54 years old today. Very controversial figure in his own right to some. But happy birthday to all those. Hello, Cutter. How you doing today? And good morning to you. Hope you are well today. Merry Christmas to you, and we hope that you are good. And hopefully you are done with your shopping if you shop, and unless somebody does it for you, and that you're going to be visiting with family hopefully this Christmas season. Tonight, as I've been announcing, we are to have Miss Mary Fagan King tonight, she's the great niece of little Mary Fagan, who was, this is a famous case here in Georgia. This is her book, 500 pages, big book. Got a lot of history in it. She's going to be on the air with us tonight from Blue Jay. Blue Jay. I started Ella J. So where did I get Blue Jay? But anyway, she's going to be talking about this case and the ongoing battle to defend the memory and or the true victim of this case. She has fought against all the politicians and people that are trying to get things changed about that case. And she's going to come on and talk about that. You're very welcome. So I've talked to her on the phone and looking forward to having her on the air. We are the first podcaster in Georgia, strangely enough. Happened here in Georgia. She lives in Georgia. The case is all here. We're the first and only podcaster in the state of Georgia to have her on for an interview. I'm looking forward to talking to her. We're not just looking for interviews. It's a case I'm very interested in. We talked about it here a while back. I mentioned someone said, well, I think her great niece is still living. We already have our own. I said, absolutely. Reached out, and we're going to be going down to Mary Fagan's grave the day after Christmas and lay flowers and clean on the grave. And we told her we would be doing that. She tries to make it down as often as she can. As again, she just lives up here, in the northern part of the state, very northern, and doesn't get down every week, obviously. And so we told her we would be glad to help with that as when we go down. So we're going to be doing that. And I talked to Miss Amy Petula yesterday. She's wrapping up her cruise. We'll be back in the city today, and said she's very excited, so let's get the date set for the interview. And she wrote, and I have laid my book somewhere. I've got to find it. The Corpsewood Manor murders, very famous case up here in North Georgia. And we don't cover murders all the time. It just happens to be that this is two that came to us, and they're both Georgia, and they're very well known. And so the Corpsewood Manor murderers, the two people down in that area at Pigeon Mountain, matter of fact, not on the national or the protected government areas, but they found a little plot of land they could get surrounded by it, and that's where that happened. Fascinating case, has a lot of different parts to it, and we're going to be covering interviewing her about her book that she wrote. I gave you a little snippet when I went and at her book signing. We gave her about 5 minutes of a 35-minute talk she gave, and we'll have her hopefully for at least 1 hour. And the date will be settled soon. In fact, today, as long as we can get everything lined up today. We've got on the 29th, Scott Smith will be with us on that's a week from tonight. Be talking dirt tracking. Another gentleman in the dirt track world. We're going to get together right after the first of the year. He wanted to wait till after the holidays because he has limitations on what day he can do it. He works a lot like me, and we're going to do that one at a different time. I'll talk with Dean about that, but that one will be done pretty soon, right after the first year. First date that he's available after the first of the year, and we have one or two more in that to be wrapped. Will be scheduled soon. We have some loose agreements out there. And then Chris McDaniel is going to be with us soon, formerly of Confederate Railroad, and is going to talk about serving Jesus. He just saw 11 people saved in a meeting out of town. He obviously will be on fire about that and talking about serving the Lord Jesus Christ and his love for him and service to him as he is. He's amazing. I've met him before, and looking forward to that. So these are just some of the names and faces that we're going to be having on in the next 3 weeks on the podcast, and looking forward to talk to these folks. Again, the premise has always been to let people share their story, and I don't go out. I don't have a spot, never have, where I say I got to book somebody for this spot. Never have. And we've always just been led by interesting people that we want to tell their story. And timing is everything. And what time should it be shared? And if it's all lined up, if it's meant to be, it happens. If it's not, it doesn't. It could be politician, entertainer, preacher. It could be anybody. It could be kids. It could be whoever has something they want to share. We want to be able to help them do that. It could be a small business. I have great respect for that. I have reached out. I didn't hear back. There's an organization, a veterans organization that has was reaching out to people about their organization. I've heard of them before. I really like what they do. And I have put the feeler out there for them to come on and share more about it. I can share the info, but they're the ones involved with it. I'm hoping to get them on to talk about it. It's in the area of really helping the wounded warriors and veterans recover. And I'm looking forward to that. They have a unique ministry to them, and I want to get them back on. We also are getting very involved with Wolf Nation and the hiking and Appalachian trails and other world, and going to have different people on talking about their experiences and or preparations. And, I reached out to one gentleman yesterday, matter of fact. This is his what do you say, third attempt at making the AT, had injury the first 2 times. I've asked him to keep us updated and come on. Hopefully he'll come on and share, and that's a common theme. Not everybody finishes. Some people, we're talking about a through hike of the Appalachian Trail. Some people get so far and injury or other things happen and they have to leave the trail, and sometimes they don't. Some will go back and finish. Some say, I want to start it again and do the whole thing. I want a through hike. I don't want a section hike it. I want to say that I made it all the way to the end, front to end, whether that's northbound or southbound, and say I did it. So I know one guy, or lady, it's her 4th time. And each other time, it was not because, she said it was injury or illness that drove her away. And she's made hundreds of miles. But 2,200 is a long way, and many, many months, a lot of time invested into that. So didn't always make it. Good morning from South Florida. I see you there. To the Point Podcast. We gave you a follow. Thank you for dropping in, and we appreciate. Hope things are well. I like the name of the podcast, To the Point Podcast. That's very nice. Over on the Rumble side. Last night I had Miss Kim covered up the screen covered up. And I was thinking, I better get over here. Rumble Studio doesn't come over into the StreamYard regular. The straight Rumble does. But y'all give, if you're on the Rumble side, give To The Point podcast. And if you're still on there from South Florida, when do you usually broadcast? Do you have certain times or what? I would just be curious to know, my friend. If you're still there, we'll look you up. I haven't had a chance to check out your show yet, but saw you in the chat of another one, and yeah, absolutely want to follow you. Tell us, pop in, and tell us about your podcast. We thank you for dropping in. It is Monday, as we say. We hope you're off of work. Somebody has to work. Somebody has to do the stores or restaurants, all those things. But if your factory or something is down, or school, we hope that you'll enjoy the time. We know how it is. It'll fly by, and you will have the days will just, they will move along fast. You'll be back at work. I know how it is. But try to enjoy it. Really, really do try to enjoy your time as you're off with family or kids or grandkids or no kids or whatever. If you're traveling a little bit, be careful out there, as we said. And, again, take the time, enjoy it, and don't worry about work. I always say it when people take time off or have time off, they take the work with them wherever they go. Sometimes there may be reasons that you have to. You got some things going on that you have to keep up with it. But as much as you can, separate yourself from work. You need that. Everybody needs it. I had a friend years ago. This has been 20 years ago, probably. Maybe not quite that long, but it's been close, if not 20 years. And I remember he actually started his own business. We used to work together, and he would always preach to people around him, take your time off, because a lot of people would sell their vacations. I mean, you could get money for them. It's your time. It's your benefit. So if you don't take them, nowadays they just pay you for them automatically, but people would cash them in, as they say, and they would get an extra check. And they did that because, well, they probably needed the money. And I get it. Everybody needs money. But if you never take time off, you're going to burn out really bad, and you won't realize it. And even if you don't burn out, which I think you do, I think you don't realize it. You need that time away to recharge the batteries, as they say. But you also need that time away to spend time with your family. And I found myself on both sides of that before, being a person who cash those in or whatever, and used them for expenses, travel, whatever, to go do a one-day thing or something, but never really took the week or two off. I'm blessed to be at the company that I've been at for a long time, so I get 5 weeks off. That's a lot of time to use throughout the year. It's nice to have. And around the year 2000, so this goes back, 25 years ago, I had never taken a vacation. I had worked all those years and had never taken a vacation. My sons were 10 and 6. Now, we had done some weekend stuff where I'd have a weekend off and we would go out of town for a day or two, but I never took a really full week or 10 days or whatever. As you kind of place your days, you can get 10 days to 2 weeks, depends on how you're able to, what they'll let you have off. And we went to Florida in the year 2000. We went to so many things. We did Universal Studios. We did Busch Gardens. We did SeaWorld. We did something else. And I'm trying to remember what it was. Anyway, we went to the beach. We had a beach day where we went down and just enjoyed our time on the beach. And my family just loved it. And I was under so much stress at work. And it kind of gave me a chance to reboot the system, kind of get back to work, make some changes that I had been just working myself to a frazzle. Wasn't getting the support I wanted in this particular area, and went back with that vacation convinced me to make a change in 2 ways. One was to make a change on the job, to change what I was doing because I wasn't getting support, and go back into the role that I was. I was much happier. And number 2 was never to not take a vacation and take my family somewhere and do something. That was the change that happened for me in the year 2000. 25 years ago, I got smarter. I'm still not very smart, but I did get smarter. I started doing some things that was beneficial. My son, my oldest son, well, they both do, but my oldest son especially, he still talks about that vacation. it meant so much to him being 10 years old. I mean, wow, here we are, mom and dad, brother, they're having fun. And, we're going to the first event. The first place we went was Busch Gardens. After we took the first day and kind of relaxed, and we went to Busch Gardens. I do remember that. And, they had been to small, we have a place up here. It's nothing like that, but they had never been to nothing that big. And it was just amazing to them. It's just awesome. And, SeaWorld was a lot of fun always. But I'm going to tell you, I think the funnest place for them was Universal Studios. They just loved that, the rides and all that with it. As far as a place to go, their favorite thing was the beach. We went across the bay. We were staying in Tampa and DeSoto State Park, and went to the beach out there. It was a very beautiful place. The beach was not crowded. It was somebody recommended it to us. We crossed over the bridge into this little community and paid the toll and whatever it is. And we went there and just had a blast. We really, really did. And when we left, my son, he was having so much fun. He cried. He was like, I don't want to leave. And I really felt bad because I was thinking, wow, I didn't really pay attention to just how much because if you don't know, you don't know. And if you go out of town and nobody, I mean, if you've never experienced it like that, then you never really understand just what you've missed. But once he's seen it, then he was like, wow, time off, get to go do all this fun stuff. We spent a bundle of money. And I remember that trip coming back. We got back. We was on the other side of Atlanta, and we we almost broke down. We had a alternator going out. I couldn't believe it. It was a nice car, just one of them things. That particular brand, it just 8 alternators. I ended up having to put 3 on that car through the time that we had it. Well, I had the warranty, just get them replaced. But we were on the other side of Atlanta, and we're starting to lose. It's stopped feeding the battery, so now it's dark. We got the headlights on and all that, and my wife was like, what are you going to do? And I thought, well, I do not want to stay a night in a hotel. I don't want to have to stop in Atlanta. I want to go home. And so said a prayer, Lord, help me get this family home. I don't want to be on the side of the road. I don't want to I want to go home. And so we turned off the air conditioner, rolled down the windows, and we made it home all the way. When I got home, the car died, and that was it. Battery was fully gone. I think that last mile or two, the lights were fairly dim, but there was nobody on the road, and we just went home. And the next day, I got it fixed. So I want my family to be home. I'll never forget that. It was like, oh, don't want to be on the side of the road down here. Took a chance and said a prayer, walked on faith, and came on home. That was a great time, though. And so I just say all that to say if you're having some time off, enjoy it. Do something a little different with the kids. Throw off the routines. Don't do the normal. You're going to have to do some of it. Christmas time, it just is kind of does that. But do something a little different, make it special. Make it when your kids are grown or grandkids, when they're grown and they look back, make them think that was pretty dang cool, make it a great memory. Kids, you just never know what they're going to latch on to and what they, that's why those memories. And my kids always, my grandkids, the one that lives with me, she will say, let's make memories. That's her way to describe that. Let's make memories. And we do our best to do that. So we go off and we do something and make a memory out of it and have a ball. So I hope you're able to do that as well. Well, it looks like in the news we're chasing after another tanker. Is this the 3rd or 4th tanker? We're getting some oil out of Venezuela. So I guess if they'll keep shipping them, we'll keep taking them and bringing them over and offloading it at Galveston and stuff. So, but we'll find out. But they were supposed to be in pursuit of one last night, and we will see. lead story today. There is a major announcement today for Mar-a-Lago from the president at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time today. Announcement. I'm not sure what they're going to announce, but I know Pete Hegseth is going to be in tow. So absolutely is going to be something militarily going on. Lead story on Newsmax is Israel warns U.S.-Iran missile drill might be cover for surprise attack. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps missile exercise could be covered for surprise attack on Israel. IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir warned the Trump administration over the weekend. We'll see. I know they're after us to hit them again. You know, in relation to the 20 points of the plan for Gaza, I mentioned last night as well that Hamas was still in power. They're rushing to get to phase 2, which will be the governing board that will move things forward for building and who's going to be where and all that. Mike Huckabee said disarming Hamas absolutely going to happen. So I had said it looks as though they were moving forward without Hamas being fully disarmed. So he's hearing that too, and they're saying that that's going to happen. But at this point, Hamas is not fully disarmed. They have, and there's still ongoing fight. I wish we would get out of the middle of this. And Marco Rubio says Gaza peace impossible if Hamas won't disarm. Well, my friends, do you expect them to? That's the idea that they're a terrorist group. Why would they disarm? If you have an organization that has vowed to go to their grave fighting what they see as their mission, they're not going to disarm. And so you're going to have to force that. Things got ugly. They didn't want them going into Gaza City and rooting out the rest of the Hamas. Well, you're going to have something in place. Looks as though I think what might happen is they want to put a force in there that's made up of international and not let Israel be the lead on it. So it won't be this whole Israel against Palestinian. It would be a force of soldiers from different nations, including Arab, and make them stand down. So I think that's probably the way they're going to get away from the bad news that was coming out about the attacks into Gaza. We will see. Witkoff, Ukraine talks over the past few days were productive. Those are blowhard headlines. You can say that all you want. How many times have we heard this? Productive. We're close. A deal may be in place. We're within days, 2 weeks. These news headlines are they're bogus. I don't buy one bit of it. I think they're just trying to keep everybody in the belief that they're really close to something good happening here. Not going to happen. So I don't buy that. Another story, as Greenland has been in the news as the president wants to use them, he has announced his Louisiana Governor Landry as the envoy to Greenland. Could he be the future mayor of Greenland? Or governor or whatever? I mean, I don't know. Because we've been talking about advancing our interest in Greenland. He has announced that the great governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, as the United States special envoy to Greenland. Jeff understands this was the president's quote. He's not walking this back. Jeff understands how essential Greenland is to our national security and will strongly, word to use, advance our country's interest for the safety, security, and survival of our allies and indeed the world. We're going to set up shop on Greenland. It's coming. He said, congratulations, Jeff. I think he's putting his guy in place is what's happening here. We'll call it envoy for now, and we'll see where it goes because I think they're going to do something there. Zelensky doesn't want the war to end, and Europe doesn't want the war to end. Therefore, it's not ending anytime soon. Agreed. We talked about this last night. Those headlines are a joke. I just don't, they're sound bites. It's like, oh, hey, we're going to have a deal in Russia. Oh, it makes me feel good for Christmas. No, I will be willing to bet on Christmas Day, whenever it officially becomes Christmas Day in that region of the world, There will be a massive, massive, maybe a record volley of missiles and or drones flying into Ukraine and in towards Russia on that day. It'll be the Christmas gift that keeps on giving. I mean, that is what's going to happen. It is not going to be. They're not going to sip tea and discuss future plans. It'll continue to be that. There will be a massive. I predict that. Instead of the famous stand down on Christmas Day, this is going to be the in action. What else here? Trump leans on son-in-law Kushner for tough talks and difficult diplomacy. Uh, yeah, they're trying to prop up Witkoff, the special envoy. He has no government experience before this. He seems to need. He's sending in the shock troops. This Miami meeting, I find it funny. This row was on display, it says, this weekend as Kushner and Witkoff hosted Russian negotiator Kirill Dmitriev in Miami for talks on the latest proposals to end Russia's war in Ukraine. And they also met with Turkish and Qatar officials who discussed the fragile truce between Israel, Hamas, and Gaza as they look to implement the second phase of Trump's ceasefire plan. This is all going to blow up. Oh. The lengthy session Saturday with Dmitriev followed several weeks of shuttle diplomacy, with Witkoff and Kushner meeting most recently with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow and Ukrainian and European diplomats in Germany and Miami. Is this like the mafia meeting? They're all in. Remember, they all Miami, Cuba, Havana. We bring the mafia dons together. It sort of reminds me of. The American envoys held further talks with Dmitriev on Sunday as they wined and dined him. It didn't say that, but that's what it is. Come on over to Miami. We'll have fun. We'll do drinks. We'll go to a couple of shows. The weather's nice in Miami. Let's come on over. We'll talk. We'll set you up in a nice suite, a 5-star hotel. You'll have a good time. You can go back and tell your boss, we really want a deal. Oh. Witkoff, a longtime pal of Trump's, is seen by some inside the administration as an oversized character who has traveled the world for diplomatic negotiations on his private jet and does not miss an opportunity to publicly praise the president for his foreign policy acumen, the official said. You better watch out, Mr. Official, whoever you are. If they find out, you won't be an official much longer. Oh, Kushner has his own complicated business interest in the Middle East and a sometimes transactional outlook to the diplomacy that has distressed some officials in European capitals, a Western diplomat said. Again, mystery sources here. Still, Kushner is seen as more credible negotiator than Witkoff, who is viewed by many Ukrainian and European officials as overly deferential to Russian interests during the war that began with Moscow's invasion in February 2022. Kushner is a bit more of a track record from the first administration, said Ian Kelly, retired career diplomat and former U.S. ambassador to Georgia. That would be the country of, not the state, who now teaches diplomacy at Northwestern University. Kelly stressed, however, that the jury is still out on Kushner's intervention. Well, this is all coming out because of failures to get a deal done. The 28 points became the 20 points. They're no closer to peace in Russia, Ukraine. Hamas is not disarmed. They can't move forward. It's what I talked about. This is the big push. So yeah, I just don't see. Maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes Trump can pull one out of the hat, but I don't think he's got much push going on here anymore. They've pushed about every button that they can, from money, big deals, pressure, threats of tariff, other restrictions. It's having China put pressure on, which I doubt they put much pressure. I just don't think that we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see a deal. I don't think it's going to happen. But if it doesn't work, it's going to put a pale over the second half of the term. I promise you. And if the midterms go bad, it's going to be hard to get things done in the second half. And that's what the liberals are pushing for. Let's take some seats. We'll point out that he's not done this or he's done this and we don't like it. He's against you. Let's win some seats, and we'll stonewall him at every turn. And the president really, even with all that support, has really turned. I mean, and I've said this for a long time, decades. I do have concerns over presidential overreach with executive action. You may like what the President Trump does mostly or all of it with that, but that same can be said. We've seen it by others, and I give a lot of leeway to the president and their ability to get things done, but at the same time, we can't bypass Congress, and they use the executive action because they can't get deals done, and there's enough Republicans that will fall away and pigeonhole him into where he can't get anything done. So it's became his administration. I don't know what the numbers are, but it seems as though ruled by executive action. And I always thought that was dangerous, and that seems to be where we're going, and that's what's happening. So we'll see. Ongoing U.S. airstrikes in Syria against ISIS targets, looking like one city in the central part of the nation. They do not have the whole of control of the Syria. That will continue to happen as the president says, we will get you for killing of our soldiers. So those are going on. Lindsey Graham, you always got to like it when Lindsey's got a quote. We didn't obliterate Iran's desire for nukes. Oh my gosh. Amid reports that Israel is warning President Trump that Iran is rebuilding its infrastructure to restart its nuclear weapons program. Yes, here he is. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, acknowledged that while Iran's nuclear sites were obliterated, its desire. Now we're going to bomb on desire. Its desire for nuclear weapons was not. Are you idiot? How do you stop the desire? There's a lot of people desire stuff. There's people in jail that desire to be free. I'm going to let the Israelis talk to President Trump about it. You're going? I can't stand that guy. But here's what I learned on my trip. We obliterated their nuclear facilities, but we did not obliterate their desire to have a bomb. Have they tried to open up enrichment in other areas? I think they may have. Are they trying to rebuild their ballistic missile force to overwhelm the Iron Dome? I believe they are. I mean, this guy, listen, South Carolina, you're conservative. We appreciate that. For mostly, we could do better in this seat, okay? There's better options. How much is Lindsey Graham taking care of South Carolina? Could you please get him off of the international scene? A boy named Lindsey. That's right, bro. He is such a hater, war hawk. I mean, oh, the Trump people administration deserves a lot of credit for getting a ceasefire in Gaza. He wants to move forward phase 2. It's been 90 days now. What did I learn on this trip? That's what happens when you let him fly around. That Hamas is not disarming. You had to go there and figure that out. They're rearming. Well, he really shows his intelligence, doesn't he? Hamas is not abandoning power. They're consolidating power. That's what the military intelligence people in Israel told me. Well, what do you expect them to say? One, it's true, whatever's left of Hamas. Well, yeah, they just promote the next guy and they continue on. I mean, but did you really need to be told that by Israel? Oh, that's what the IDF told me. That's what our own people told me. Peace in Gaza will require some more, here's that word again, force. He likes that word, force, Brusky. So I am all for a stabilizing force. He has to clarify. I'm all for boards of peace. Now, this is Lindsey. Here he goes. He just salivates at war. He said, but you can't have a board of peace. You can't have a stabilizing force in Gaza until Hamas is disarmed. They're not being disarmed. There's nobody coming over the horizon to disarm them. So I would urge President Trump to meet with Prime Minister Bibi. Is that what he's called now, Prime Minister Bibi? I believe that would be Netanyahu. We're on first name basis here, buddy. We're going to call him Prime Minister Bibi. I've never saw that listed like that. Next week and come up with a plan. He's going to urge him to meet with Bibi, Prime Minister Bibi, next week and come up with a plan. Put Hamas on the time clock. If they don't turn over their weapons and stop rearming at a date certain, I would unleash Israel on them. That's what I would do. Listen, Lindsay, we know what you would do. Hamas terrorists remain resolute to their fight to the death, to their death. Graham concluded, there is no pathway forward to peace as long as Hamas has their arms and they intend to stay in power. They're doing both. They instead intend to stay in power. They're not disarming. And I think it's going to come down to Israel to do that unless there's a changing event on the ground. I see no effort by Hamas to voluntarily disarm. I see no effort for them to give up power. Quite the opposite. As to Iran, they're up to no good. This is the best we have to go on this mission. Seriously, they're up to no good. How many entities around the world could we say that about? They're up to no good. Oh, there's some. Let's just get him the seat to teach at Northwestern too, or some major university, international affairs. Professor Graham, who has no experience whatsoever, but we'll put him in a class. That's what they do. They give him a little. We'll give him a special honorarium, and he'll go in and he will teach the Middle East, the conundrum of the Middle East by Lindsey Graham. They're up to no good. Of course, Iran is up to no good. In many ways, the mullahs, sure, but the people, I mean, they're just trying to live. But he's wanting more war over there. You know, he's got the Russia-Ukraine right where he wants it. You know, that's why he's not over there, because wherever there is the potential for peace, Lindsey Graham goes in and he steals it and he makes sure it doesn't happen. Well, now he's afraid. Oh my gosh, they're going to phase 2. Oh, we've got to point out this Hamas deal. We've got to unleash Israel on them again. We got more war we can have here. Good Lord. This guy's as bad as when Hillary was running around the Middle East, or Madeleine Albright. Good Lord, what a bunch of losers. I mean, this has got, I always thought, I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on this point right here. I really don't care. If you're a foreign power of any kind, country, whoever they are, and you look up, here comes the good old US of A plane, and it lands. And those 3 people at any point or all together or any combination are getting off the plane, it has to cross your mind. Is this the best they have to send us? This is Loserville. Madeleine Albright, I mean, that when that came off the plane, Hillary waddling off the plane, Lindsey Graham strutting off the plane. You got to be sitting there going, oh my God, here they come again. Oh, I think I would call up the president and say, could you get these losers out of our country? I mean, we're being nice to them because, we don't want to, we may not agree with you on everything, but really, seriously, do you have to send this to us? I remember one time somebody complained about, I don't know if it's Hillary or Melanie, I can't remember. And somebody complained and somebody, they said, this is our elected leader. You will deal with them. I mean, because honestly, it's an affront to some countries. Honestly, it is. It's not nice. Lindsey gets off the plane, stands on the tarmac at Ben Gurion Airport, and says, I'm here with a message from America. We know that Iran's up to no good. Well, I'm working feverishly to get more war started. I mean, I'm working feverishly to get the president to listen so that we can support you in a full onslaught of destruction. That's what he wants. He was there that night when they were supposed to be close to a deal, meeting for a deal. He was in the war room with Zelensky, watching the drones and missiles get fired off. I mean, the very night, on the eve of their meeting the next day, the next morning, They're to meet for peace to try to get. He's sitting there watching the intel of these drone strikes and stuff coming up. I mean, it just killed it. They never met. They just went home. I mean, wherever he shows up, there'll be some war. There'll be some. The negotiations will break down. That's Lindsey Graham for you. What a horrendous article. They're up to no good. Oh my goodness. The tanker seizures, according to Newsmax, they are targeting Maduro's cash. So this is what they're saying. It is not an attempt to grab oil, retired U.S. Navy Captain Brent Sadler said Sunday on Newsmax. Well, the Democrats are on that point are absolutely wrong. Sadler said it's actually about going after the money and the support structure of this illegal regime, the Maduro regime in Venezuela. By the way, I'm surprised Lindsey's not over there. Why is Lindsey not in this part of the country? We're on the eve of bombing runs on Venezuela military targets. Why is he not there? I guess because he knows that's going to happen. He's got to go somewhere where he's afraid war's fixing to end. He says it's going to take more than just a few weeks or a few months, he says. So get ready, folks. Venezuela thing, I told you, it's not going away anytime soon, and the carrier group is going to stay in that area. They're going to continue to, he says the regime will continue to drive the country into socialist hell to go after the cartels. So they said earlier on Sunday they pursued another sanctioned oil tanker in the Caribbean Sea. I was trying to look, and the oil, he said, is another piece of the puzzle. That's another major cash market for the illicit regime, and you're seeing these interdictions not just in the Caribbean, pointing to the Iranian regime's efforts to acquire Chinese weapons. So this makes the administration's efforts a global attempt to stop this illicit dark fleet that's not just supporting the Maduro regime. What you're seeing here is going to be just the beginning. Just the beginning, he says. And I think the pace is going to pick up. He framed the tanker seizures as part of a broader strategy that reaches beyond Venezuela, saying oil shipments can feed other U.S. adversaries and complicate global trade. Well, it's bigger than the Maduro regime, so I have to state that up front, because much of this oil is going to support the Iranian regime. It's also funneling money to Russia's war effort in Ukraine by facilitating the transfer and the sales of this illicit oil to China and other countries, some of them which are our partners and friends. By the way, I did the show last week. Was last week when I did the show about China versus the USA militarily. Some loon come in and just lambasted me and saying China is not a threat to anybody, that all of their military is overstated and it's decrepit and all this stuff. Really, you believe that? Whoever you are, it's okay. I appreciate your comments, because all are welcome as long as you're not being ugly as far as the language and stuff. But to that gentleman, I would just say, really? You can buy that story all you want, but China's been building for some time now. And we're not talking about, wooden boats, sinking in the ocean. We're talking about some highly productive military armaments. I mean, they're certainly, their Navy they've grown that a lot, and America has sit back and watched that. So you can be on board with that or against that or whatever you want to be, but to say that, act as though that it was a worthless show, that's not true. We may not have all the intel, but it's pretty well known that they've been building militarily for some time, and even expanding their ability where they're at with that military capability, and making deals and partnerships around the world through cash and other things, forgiveness of loans, whatever it is. They're making deals, and that's why Greenland is in target, because of that. If it's not a threat, dude, there's no need for it. If it's not to counter Russia and specifically China, there's no other reason for it. I mean, it's not going to turn into the Las Vegas of the North. Okay, that's not what that is. We're not going to be having families departing off of the Delta Airlines coming into the Greenland, for tourism. That's not what that is. it's to put a heck of a lot of military capability there, to put heavy bombers there. And yes, I'll say it, probably missiles. If I had, that's probably one of the, but to be able to have stockpiles of stuff that we need in that region of the world. That's why it's important. And it's going to happen. This is amping up into a global, check, counterpoint, check, check mark, checkmate, all that against the other powers. And definitely President Trump's vision is in this. I don't think he came up with this alone. I think this has been presented to him by the Joint Chiefs, and people in the military circles have said this is something that we need. And he said, okay, then let's do it. Because that's what he does. He's the art of the deal guy. He's like, okay, we'll do it. Let's get it. We need it. It's going to make America safer, stronger, whatever. We can counter these other people. Let's do it. It's obvious. I mean, he was. When did you ever hear President Trump talking about Greenland in the past? I don't remember it ever being a focus. But when he got elected again, that all of a sudden, like overnight, Greenland became a talking point that we got to have it. It's kind of died down a little bit, but it hasn't went away. It's behind the scenes. They let that story die down a little bit. They're putting other things in place. But this announcement of the envoy and stuff, that's all going to ramp up. It's coming soon. I think after the first of the year, you're going to see a lot of news pop out pretty quick. And that's seemingly what this gentleman was saying is there's more coming. It's going to take some time. There's a lot more coming. So it's all ties together. So all the puzzle pieces absolutely fit together when you're looking at that part of the world. So around the world, not just that part, but around the world. But for God's sakes, can we get Lindsey Graham? Let's take his travel pass. Who gave Lindsey Graham the travel voucher? Can we cut his funds? Who paid for that trip? If it's you, voters of South Carolina, could you call him home and tell him to get home and take care of things at home? We don't need him over there. It's the last person you need on a fact-finding mission to Israel or anywhere else. Good grief! When we land in Greenland, Lindsey Graham will be there. I'm telling you, he'll be one of those. He'll be like McCarthy, stepping off the ship. The landing craft. He'll be coming on with a cigar in his mouth and sunglasses on, saying, "We have landed. The Lindsey has landed." I wouldn't doubt he's salivating at the idea of being able to go over and look through Maduro's papers and stuff in his office. He wants to sit at the desk. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy's a war hawk, man. He just if there's not war close to happening, he'll stir it up and get it started. That's what he does. And if a war is about to end, he's going to make sure it continues to go. This guy's itching for it. He's been salivating over this. Can't stand that guy, man. He's not a good person. He's not. I just do not care for him. But he is entrenched in South Carolina. Nobody even comes close to beating this guy. It's a seat they have hold of. I just wish it was a better person. I just don't care for him. And at one time I heard a lot of stuff he was saying. I didn't notice that part of it. It was, he was over the the committee when some of the Supreme Court justices were being voted on. He was over that, and it were difficult ones, and I thought he probably did a pretty good job at that, and sort of mutual respect with some of the elders, even though they deeply opposed each other, and it had gotten ugly. He did bring that home. He did see it through, and I give him credit on that one. I'll give a credit where credit's due. I thought he handled that pretty well, because that was so ugly, especially the one of them. It was Kavanaugh's, was very ugly, and but he was able to navigate through that. And Dianne Feinstein was very sick. I mean, she was in the stages of dying. I mean, let's face it. And was trying to show her respect, and even though there was deeply opposed, I thought he did a pretty good job. But on the international scene, this guy's horrible. I mean, he's absolutely horrible. And I still think he's a good person. I just don't. I can change my opinion, but at this point, that's what I would say about that. If you're not registered to vote, for anybody listening, please be registered if allowed to. We always say that, and I would hope that you all are. but make sure that you get that. There are elections coming soon. There is time to get registered. It is so easy today to get registered to vote. Don't let the crapola that goes on in the states, and we got things to clean up here in Georgia, absolutely, still clean up, but don't always vote. Make your voice known. It's an honor for me, and if you can think of nothing else, think of the dead soldiers who were littered across Europe in graves that defended that right of freedom. That's what I think of. If the candidates all suck, and sometimes they do, sometimes you go in, you're like, my gosh, this is choosing the worst, the less of the suck. Just think on those soldiers, and go in and pray and do the best you can with that. But don't let them take your vote, because don't let it be some dead person voting your name or whatever, or they steal your identity or whatever. I mean, because it's this stuff happens. Stay on top of it. There has been cases where people went to register to vote, and they said, "Well, you're already registered. You've been voting in the last, for the last 5 years." Whoa, I haven't voted in a long time or ever. When did this happen? This has happened. Those lists are being updated. We've cleaned up a lot in a lot of counties and stuff in Georgia. There's still, I think, probably some work to do in Fulton County. We've heard reports out of there. And there's the real problem was the votes that were coming in from outside of the state. Votes that were coming back, voters that went outside the state. They moved, but yet shouldn't have been voting in Georgia, but did. They came back in and voted. All this stuff's got to be cleaned up. It's all got to be cleaned up. But always vote. Always, don't make sure that your information is accurate. It makes it be very difficult for somebody to steal your identity. And plus, you don't want somebody stealing your identity anyway. That's dangerous. In voting in your name. Sigma, I was a poll watcher in Lata, how you say that? Lata County, Idaho. There's no point in voting, you're saying. Also, my second vet grandpa wished he hadn't served, and that was in 1990. I learned by experience. Well, okay, I appreciate your comments, but I have seen elections that were very close in my area, and it come down to one vote. I mean, once you do have the runoff, that one vote is going to get that person in. So, with all respect to World War II vet grandpa, we have been able to flip votes here and bring them back home conservative. I can't speak for the rest of the nation. What I can speak on is as a poll worker, and have been for the last few years. I've been at most levels of this. I've been involved with, and I can tell you that it is we do a good job here in the northern part of the state. I can't speak for anything else. But I can tell you the hard work and the dedication of the election workers here in the northern part of the state. And we do think it makes a difference, even though there are problems, and we know there are problems. We've seen that, but those come from the center of the state. Well, sure, there's that goes on, Sigma. That's why we don't stop. We got to continue to push and fight to make sure that we don't see cheating. We have to do that. And the cheaters can come from anywhere and any side. Absolutely. But I still, again, I'm not opposing you. I'm just saying that's a difference of opinion. I have always been honored to do that, and I'm going to do my duty. And for me, I'm not saying for you. I'm just saying that I think that it is something that people have paid the price for. Freedom has a cost, and it comes with the bodies of dead soldiers. And we always have to stamp out corruption. I mean, that's always the threat. We live in a fallen society. We live in a society where the total depravity of man. What do we expect going to happen? We know there are good men that will stand up, men and women who will stand up, but there's always going to be that wretched of society who tries to steal, who desires power and will do anything to have it. Good people have got to stand against that and check it. If we don't, we turn it over to them and say, have at it. I just never have liked that mentality to sort of put your head in the sand and just say, do whatever you're going to do. I hear that from people. Absolutely. I've heard that, but I definitely have always served. My dad was always a voter. I went as a young boy and observed the process. I certainly get it. A lot of politicians are sleazy. A lot of people in power are sleazy. I get it, but that's not all of them. And I know some good people that are involved, and they're trying their best to make a difference. And I've seen elections here that they tried to force candidates down our throat. And the voters of our area said, not going to happen. And we voted in the opposite. And that power machine was out trying to make that happen. And we checked it. We stopped it. That's because voters got out in force and voted. And let's be honest, if it wasn't, well, if and I, this is one of the points that I make. It is not, listen to me good. If everybody says this, because we hear this, is there cheating goes on? Yes. If all of it was a cheat, there are people that would never have been elected. Never. Because why would they let somebody they absolutely oppose and hate get in? No, they wanted their person in. If it was all a cheat, you would never see good people that get elected, that stop, stonewall, push back, slow down bad just things that have happened. And so you don't see that. We see the shock in their faces when they think, well, they got this in the bag. I can tell you when Sonny Perdue in Georgia beat Roy Barnes, I was watching Atlanta media that night. I really thought that Roy Barnes would win, but North and South Georgia stood up tall and voted for Sonny Perdue. I can still remember they were laughing and cutting up. It was like they were having drinks around the bar at the local, watering hole on the channel. They were also happy. And somebody said something in one of their ears, and you could see the guys like, what? Oh, and they started getting all serious. And some other counties had came in, and the vote started swinging. They were in disbelief. And for about 15 or 20 minutes, they're just trying to get information. They stopped laughing. They stopped cutting up. And then they said, could it absolutely be that Sonny Perdue could win and be governor of Georgia? And the shock, it just hit them. You could see it. They were like, this ain't supposed to be happening. This is the same thing that happened when President Trump, the first run against Hillary. They had already that was in the bag. They had it. Oh, she's the first woman president. It's going to happen. Hillary, power to the women, the liberal women. We're going to win this thing. Bombshell. They thought they had it. They were partying. And then that shock came in. Those certain states, all of a sudden it put it in doubt. You saw them getting very serious, like, wait a minute. He could win this thing. So it doesn't go the way that they think it's going to, or even with the schemes, the cheating, the people coming back at the midnight hour, pushing through ballots, the ballot drop boxes, which I hate. They've moved those inside now in our county. I don't know if they did that across the state, but the drop boxes are inside instead of out where you can just pull up and drop them in. You got to come there in hours and stand there in front of them. It's right beside the counter in my county. It's right there. They're watching everything you're doing. They're there. You can only do it during hours that they're open. And they're, so we saw that. Certainly there was cheating. Certainly in Georgia, there's been cheating. Absolutely. But I do say, and the mail-in, as you mentioned, we have to watch that. We have to watch, the machines and whatever else. We got to make sure that everything stays. Well, and you saw what happened. One of them was bought out, right? And they're going to do away with them. That contract will die as the billionaire, whatever he was, went in and bought the company. The Dominion, wasn't it? He went in and bought it and says he's going to do away with them. They have contracts for a time. He'll end up breaking those contracts or seeing when they end. And, that's one way they're trying to do away with them. But I can just tell you that I keep a really close tab on what's going on in my county and specifically in my precinct. And I've been watching these numbers. I go in and I do a deep study on them in my county, district by district. And, and watch and see and look at the numbers, look at the number of voters, actual who voted, how these break out. And I can tell you, it's legit in my county. I can tell you, and I've worked with, or watched and worked with, and educated myself on some of the follow up. A lot of people don't realize what they do, and I don't know about the state, but I can tell you that after election there is another counting that goes on, and there is people from both sides. There are other officials that come in and they look at everyone to make sure that. They look these numbers over, and it takes a while, and then it's basically the certification of the election we just had. This last one was a runoff, and it didn't take as long. I think 2 or 3 hours they were done. But I had stopped by right after they had left for the day, and that's what happens. You bring these people in; they all have to agree on, um, that this vote counted this way or whatever, and make so they go through that. So there are a lot of checks and balances to it. Uh, I can tell you that the armed escort for the memory cards that get taken first when we end an election in Georgia, because we do use the Dominion machines, scanners, and of course the BMDs, the ballot marking devices, and I've worked every level of that. And when there's a problem, if something happens on it, it gets taken out of service till it is fixed. And if it can't be fixed, it is taken, and they just don't replace it. It is taken. If something malfunction, it's not pulling the ballot up right or whatever it is. But I can tell you at the end of the day, that is the first that we have to work very hard, because we have to, three of us, it requires three. We have to work together to take those memory cards out. Those memory cards get sealed, and under police escort, those are picked up by election officials and taken back to the election headquarters and uploaded to the state. And so it's just a lot of parts to it. I mean, it's a long day. It starts real early and it ends late. And it has, in my county, I feel totally confident of where we're at and what we're doing. I have not seen a problem there. And at times they will come into your state and do a state audit as well. We were not selected this time. I think it was the county next to us was selected the time before, and they do even a deeper dive, and they go in and do an audit of your county. But there are a couple of three counties in Georgia that it may not be the whole county, but there are problems within the county. We know it. Fulton County is one of them. And there's a lot of things that needs to be cleaned up there. And we got to clean up. We got to make sure voter rolls get cleaned up. And we have stopped people from voting. Now, most of the time, this is where, they don't have their information to the level it needs to be. Maybe they moved. Maybe there's a lot of different reasons. And so sometimes there's occasionally we have to say, no, I'm sorry, you can't vote. You're going to have to get this straightened up, and you can vote in the next election if you get this done. You got plenty of time to get it done. But I saw people missed out voting on the presidential election because they didn't have their ducks in a row. They had moved into the state. They didn't get things switched around like they needed to in time, and they didn't vote. Or they could have voted, but they didn't want to go through the process of what it was going to take to vote. So anyway, that's just my part of it. I'm not disputing that certainly there are problems across the nation. There are problems with those things, and we have to work very hard to make sure the attention is put on it. And all the paperwork has to be accurate, or you're going to be sitting if there was a lawsuit, you're going to be sitting in a witness stand, and you're going to be answering because that's your signature. I'm signing official documents. I print my name, and I have to sign my name on so many documents. At the end of the night, we work in a 3-man team. It's a manager and 2 assistant managers. The rest are helpers that help us do the election. But at the end of the night, it becomes our part of that. I'm the guy that makes sure that for my manager, I'm lining all the paperwork up and making sure that we have all the things that we need. There's a checklist. We go down through all that. It gets put back in a certain order. Then we have to go down to election headquarters, and all that gets checked again. And if anything's not right, it has to be corrected. But, you have to be very clear with your paperwork. And I can tell you there is a ton of paperwork. It's amazing. And they do a great job at the county office to make sure that it stands out to us. They color code a lot of stuff. You have to, 3 signatures here, 2 signatures here. There are guides that we go by to start things up, shut things down. There is and you don't willy-nilly it, and you do it exactly as it's supposed to be, or you can't be involved. And I went into it just to do my part as a citizen. I went in just to help. And I think a part of it was just to make sure, are we doing things correctly? But they had a need for 50 extra poll workers in my county. And I said, what can I do for my country, for my county, for my state? And so I said, don't know if you can use me. I called them up, and they said, absolutely. and there's training you can go to. We train every year, just like tax people. You got to go back to training, and we go through any changes that have occurred, new paperwork, alterations to paperwork, things are going to happen in a certain way. We go back through the whole process of making sure we're comfortable with everything that's going on, in case of emergency fires, whatever what would we do to keep the precinct open, and so votes could be going forward. Hello, Jake. And I stayed around. I just it's that I didn't know. I thought I would just be helping for that 1 year, that one election. I'm going to tell you, I love the people I work with. They are absolutely some of the best people, salt of the earth. Many of them veterans. I work with a lot of veterans who, and every one of them said the same thing. By the way, I've always asked them, people that I meet that are involved, and we have new people come on board, and I will say, "What made you do it? Why are you doing this?" And they will, every one of them, say the same thing. It's what I said. I want to help, do my part as a citizen, and I want to make sure that it's legit, that we have good, clean voting. And number three, most importantly, they'll say, for the guys in the graves, I serve beside them. I do it for them. That's what they say. If they weren't a veteran, they just say the first two, or say, I love my country and I want to do what I can to help. So I just think, again, it's not to say that I get, and that's the freedom we have, right? That's the freedom we have. I'm not saying you have the freedom not to. You have the freedom to say, I'm not voting. I'm not going to do it. That's the freedom we have. And I just like to stand on the point that I think anything you don't stand up for, I'm not for the ranked voting, and I want to stand against that in my state. I'm not for it. I don't like that. If you're not familiar with it, get familiar. It may have already happened in your area. It's a long day, but it's a fulfilling day. I'm very tired when it's over. I mean, I actually come home and do a show because I talk about election results. I'm beat. I can tell you at the end of that day, but it's a good kind of, my favorite part is after all day long, when we take everything back to election headquarters, we check everything in and we get the attaboy, like, great job, guys, is going out to my truck or car, whichever one I drive, and I'm driving home. It's about a 25-minute drive from election headquarters to my house, 25 minutes. And going home, I don't know how to describe it. It's the feeling that you did something that means something, and you did it well, and there's just a satisfaction there. It's I don't want to say sacred moment, but there's something about it that makes you feel like you've done something above and not I would say beyond, but you did your duty. I guess that's what I would say. You did your duty. And when people say you guys are doing a great job, because we hear all the bad stuff. And when you got people and they have people over them and they have people over them, and everybody is trying to get that, and we did a good job. And it takes all of us to make that happen. One person can't do it. A group of people can't do it. It takes a whole lot of people working together to make that happen. And I see the work that goes on, the setting up of the precincts beforehand, all the move of equipment, making sure that things work, got to get things fixed in the precinct, got to make sure that experience is there, got to run off the troublemakers if they show up, the people trying to campaign when they're not supposed to, listen to the people come in trying to act up, making sure that our signage is up, making sure that our disabled are taken care of, moving them to the front of the line, making sure they have a comfortable process, making sure that people don't talk in the voting area. The list goes on and on. And every once in a while you have a jackleg that comes in and, they're put straight, like, you're not going to do that or you're not voting here. You'll have to leave. And they're just knuckleheads. They're just trying to be disruptors. We don't see a lot of that, but I have seen it a little. And then people that, try to get smart with you. You've done nothing, but they act like you're, Satan's spawn or something because, you're obviously part of the cabal. You're evil. How that makes me feel. How angry that makes me. that people think that I'm part of some kind of, like I'm in some sort of scam, that I'm crooked, or I'm doing things wrong. Boy, it burns me up. And you can't stop it. They're going to believe what they want to believe. And you can put evidence in front of people and they will never believe it. But I feel dang good about what we do. And I'm just saying for my part, this is not even a response to the comments. This is just, I'm just saying for me, I feel dang good about it. And I absolutely love my manager is he served in two different branches of the military. He still works as a deputy coroner. This guy's in early 70s. Fantastic. Love the guy to death. And, just love the people I work with. They're just amazing people. And they all love America. Every single one of them. They love America. And they want to do good. They want to, and most of them are, born again Christians. And they want to do good things. So anyway, that's my take on that. Didn't mean to go that long with it, but I got 3 elections coming up. Maybe 4. Could be 4. Matter of fact, it might be 4. Because we've got the special election for MTG spot. That will almost undoubtedly be a runoff. So there's 2 elections right there. And then we'll have the primary for the midterms. We'll have the primaries. That's going to be one. We could have runoff out of that, and then we will have the election. So I mean, there's a lot going on. It's going to be a busy year in elections here in Georgia, especially in the 14th district, of which I am. Many southern states have governors that's going to be changing. They're termed out. And so it's Florida, Georgia, Alabama. There's many of them, many more than that. I think 36 states are changing governors. 36. Think about that. It's a big election. So a lot of change going on. But anyway, God bless you all. Merry Christmas. Kind of a heavy note, but if you love something, you're passionate about it. And I just love to, I don't mind covering that. I hope it's not boring to you. I want you to get more involved. Ask the hard questions. Get the freedom. Use your Freedom of Information Act. Pull information. Look for injustices at any level, whether it's judicial or elections, whatever it is. Always stand against that. That's what we do as citizens. We always call out stuff. We hold people accountable. And when we find injustices, we got to fight to make it right. Absolutely. And there are people out there working their tails off to try to make it a better, to make America great again, to make it great, to keep it great, whatever you want to say, to stop the bad people of the world from doing bad things. Somebody's got to stand on that wall. Somebody has to stand there and do their part. I don't see everything. I can't tell you what goes on in Atlanta, but I can only do what I can do. There are other people at different levels that are doing those things. I'm working locally, and I believe that is important in our country to work locally, because if you don't manage that, forget it. It's not going to matter anyway. All these down ballots, you've got to work that and keep that legit. Vote for the school board. I absolutely know you can vote school board members out, bad ones. Get the right people in there and hold them accountable. I don't care if they're appointed over their water board or whatever it is. Hold these people accountable to their job. Do it respectfully, but do it fairly and honestly and firmly, and make sure that people are doing their due diligence to do right. If you find it, it's not always, by the way, it's not always criminal that they tried to do something wrong. They may have been mistaken. Maybe they just didn't know about something and they get corrected. I've seen that too. But to say listen, there'll never be anywhere on the face of the planet this idea of a 100% clean election. You know why? Because there's always going to be one person somewhere who's at least one who is a no good, and they're going to try to cheat. That's just the way life is. It's a fallen world. It's a sinful world. We got to stand up and hold people accountable and say, hold on, you're not doing that. And call it out and, make them, it's either corrected, they're fired, they're put in jail, whatever it is, whatever the case is, whatever the level of punishment needs to happen, and make sure it never happens. Do our best to make sure it doesn't happen again. The one thing we can always be counted on until the Lord returns, though, is sinful actions by sinful men. That's a given. A rabid dog is a rabid dog. You can't expect it to act any way different. You're going to have people that are going to act out because they are full of the devil, and they're full of sin, and it's all about them. Narcissistic people who want their own power, their own platform to do and feed themselves. They could care less about you. We're always going to have those people until the Lord returns, and we got to deal with it. And so what we can't do is just turn and say, well, whatever, No, I refuse that, you know. And we have a lot of Americans that do that. They're just living life. They're eating, they're drinking, they're getting married, they're having fun, celebration, they're singing songs, they're happy. They don't want to see the evil. They don't want to. There's a lot of people does that. I remember a good friend of mine. I mentioned him earlier. The guy that started the company. He said something to me one time. I was very changes going on in my life. This has been a long time ago. I mean, nearly 30 years ago. And anyway, I was studying something, and he said, "Be careful what you read." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he goes, "Once you've read it, you can't avoid it. I was reading the Bible. He said, your duty." He said, I want you to do that. He said, "I'm just telling you, I was kind of joking with you. When you learn something, a new truth, you can't ignore it now." And that's the problem. People don't want to be knowledgeable, so they avoid getting knowledgeable. They avoid studying or finding out what the truth is. He said, once you know the truth, then you have a duty. You're going to find you're changing your opinions on some stuff as you study that book. And he's absolutely correct. And I think that's the reasons I'm even here is just growing in that, growing as a person, and looking for a way to, at least in my little corner of the world, to try to make a difference. Am I successful? I don't know. I'll let God decide that. But if I can encourage somebody, just encourage. Do something. Step up and do something. You know what? A lot of people gripe about those in power or those who have been elected, but a lot of people won't even run. And if we want to make change, sometimes we may be the one that needs to run. Absolutely. And I have talked to a lot of those people too. They never ran for elected office ever. And when you ask them why they ran, they said, "I felt like it was my duty. I felt like I needed to be the one I needed to be the change agent to make it better." And so it started at the grassroots level. I saw this all across the South, people running for school boards, commissioner seats, and things like that. They felt like I could make a difference. I want to protect the kids. I want things to be right for my county, my city, my state. I want to do my part. And God bless them. They never ran. They're not politicians. They've never ran. And they don't even put down anybody that's ran. They just say, "I feel like I'm supposed to. I feel like it's a calling that I'm supposed to run, and I need to run." Remember years ago when some people said Christians shouldn't be in places of elections and all that? Bogus. I can't even believe somebody would say that. What? They're not supposed to, a Christian can't serve? Come on. Ridiculous. In fact, you want somebody who has some sort of values. I mean, certainly. Not to say they won't mess up. Some Christians mess up. Sure, they're imperfect. But to say they shouldn't be elected, it's ridiculous. Come on. Hey, that's the show this morning. Appreciate you. God bless you. We'll be back on this evening again. For those that might not have been tuning in, she will be with us tonight at 7 p.m. Well, hopefully nothing will happen. All technical issues hopefully will not. But 7 to 9 p.m., Miss Mary Fagan Keene, to talk about this historical case in Georgia and the ongoing fight to protect the memory of the true victim in this crime, which was little Mary Fagan. Tune in tonight, and other shows as well. Be a busy morning, busy afternoon, and then we'll have some fun tonight. And yes, we'll have fun, and I'm looking forward to it. The first of several interviews we hope to have with this wonderful person who I've talked with on the phone. We talked for a long time. The first time we talked, she's got a lot to say, and I can't wait. So I'm going to turn her loose, and we're going to deep dive. We'll give the gist of the case. We'll talk about yes, there was a movie made about at least one, and we'll talk about decisions that were made and what's going on today. It goes into today as they're trying to make changes and set a guilty man free and give him, pardon. Well, he's guilty. He shouldn't get a pardon. But anyway, that's the show. That's going to be the show tonight. a special Wolf Nation production. And I look forward to having this author on. And she is the great niece of she is family of hers. She's going to tell her story too, because there were times she didn't know all of it, and she has dedicated herself to a foundation to make sure that ongoing there is money there to make sure that things are when she's left this place, there will be people that will caretake for that and the grave and everything else. They are keepers of the story, and they're going to keep defending her and her keeping her memory alive in the right ways and the grave and all that. So tune in tonight. Have a great afternoon. Go shopping. Get it done if you can. And we will see you this evening, Lord willing. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you so very much, and have a blessed day. And pray for us, and we'll pray for you. Absolutely.